Hey everybody, hope you all are having a wonderful holiday season this year. I just wanted to stop on by to give you my quick thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984. Now, out of all my friends who've already seen this movie, half of them love it. They're like, Brandon, what a movie. This movie's amazing. I can't wait for you to tell me your thoughts and how much you love it. The other half are like, this movie is complete garbage. What a terrible, terrible movie, Brandon. I cannot wait for you to just rip it to shreds. Now, unfortunately, I can't satisfy both camps in this scenario, but I will tell you that I can understand where both sides are coming from, but I do think this movie has more good things than bad things in it. But let's start with those bad things first. Let's just get those out of the way. Number one is the runtime. Oh my god, is this a long movie. Needlessly long. Now, I can enjoy long movies, okay? Braveheart is one of my all-time favorite movies, and that's a 3-hour long movie. But I love it because it takes the first hour and a bit to really establish the characters, the setting, the story, the emotions, everything. And while Wonder Woman does set up a bunch of different story aspects, they're building up two different villains, and they're also building up Chris Pine's return, and I will talk about that in a minute. But I feel like as soon as it was halfway through the movie, I'm like, when's the movie gonna start? I understand what's happening, the setup is all done. Like, you guys had me engaged right from the beginning, but now it's like, okay guys, let's get this stuff going. And speaking about Chris Pine, I like him. I like him in this movie, I like him as an actor, and I really enjoyed him in the first movie. However, in the first movie, he was the one who knew what was going on in the world, and he was showing Diana, the fish out of water, what was going on in the world at that time. Now, they're somewhat reversed. You have Diana, who is not a part of this world, and has been living here for quite some time, and once Chris Pine's character comes back, he is starting to be like, oh my god, this is so amazing. And while we've seen the fish out of water humor before, for me at least, the funniest jokes were in the trailer. And I understand why he was in the movie, because it fits in with the whole theme of the movie, which I will talk about later. But for me, it just seemed like he was really out of place. He felt like he was an anchor on the movie, and it's weird to say because Chris Pine is a very charismatic guy, and I normally like him in almost everything he's in, but in here he just felt like, oh yeah, he was in the first movie, so let's just put him in this movie as well, and it didn't really flow that well in my mind. And lastly, it's the lack of action sequences. Now, I am not for putting in action sequences that are just gonna be there for action's sake, right? Then you turn into Aquaman. So I will admit that the action scenes in this movie are driven by story. That is the good part. However, there's not that many of them, and the action sequences didn't really get me that excited or engaged, and they weren't really that adrenaline-pumping rush of anxiety, of thrills that I expect in superhero big-budget movies like this. Maybe that was because I was watching them at home, but then again, I've seen Avengers at home, and I still find those scenes thrilling, so I don't think that the whole watching it at home experience is a really good argument. I definitely felt the heavy hand of CGI in those scenes, and they didn't have that urgency or that fear of danger that action scenes really should have. Now, I will admit that the White House fight was pretty fun, but the final fight, it was disappointing because it was just a visual disaster. The final fight was just so ugly to look at because now we have this predator, right? The cheetah, I believe her name was. Kristen Wiig's character is now finally evolved into the villain of the movie, the main muscle that Diana, Wonder Woman, has to fight. But yet they film it at nighttime and you can't see a thing that's going on. And lastly, 1984, right? I love the 80s. I'm wearing a Miami Vice t-shirt, right? However, I feel like the whole fact that it takes place in 1984 isn't really that prevalent on the story. It just seems more of like a gimmick, which I'm fine with, but I'm just letting you know that this movie didn't necessarily have to take place in 1984. It could have taken place today, and it wouldn't have made that big of a difference. But now let's get to the good, because I do think that the good outweighs the bad, and it starts with Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot, tomato, whatever. She's excellent. And while sure, I liked her more in World War I because I thought that her character really fit well with that fish out of water humor, and her chemistry with Chris Pine in that movie was just excellent. The first Wonder Woman, by the way, is my favorite DCEU movie, period. But even though I liked her more in the first movie, I liked her here as well. She's a badass superhero. I also like Pedro Pascal as Max Lord, and I like that he's not this super badass supervillain that has to fight Wonder Woman. And he's not the most intimidating, but he was well written, well rounded, and the motivation for him was clear. He felt like a real person, and you felt like his motivations were justified in terms of why he wanted to do these things. Sure, he did some pretty bad things to get what he wanted, and he put a lot of people at risk to do it, but you understand where he's coming from, and that's a good villain. So yes, he wasn't really the intimidating, badass villain that has to fight Diana at the end. That goes to Barbara, played by Kristen Wiig. And I thought she did great in this movie. I thought she gave a really great performance, and I do like her chemistry with Diana, Gal Gadot, whatever. And again, the motivation, it makes sense. It does kind of remind me of Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, just a little bit, but I thought it was handled. That motivation of wanting to be seen, wanting to be noticed, that nobody that wants the limelight, they want to be seen. This movie does it much better than Amazing Spider-Man 2 did. I just wish that her turn to evil happened sooner, right? Like, this movie is way too long. Way too long. And I wish that we could finally see her in the final battle, because that payoff was... But this is what I really liked about the movie. The message and the theme. This movie has its heart in the right place, and it tells us that truth, the cold, hard truth, is the most important thing, because that's all there is. And once things are built up on lies, well, then they have a shaky foundation, and you don't really know if it can be sustained or not. The truth, the cold, hard truth, is the most important thing. I'm realizing now how much I sound like Jordan Peterson talking about the truth and how it really matters, but you know what? This movie tells it as it is, and I think that the message in this movie is excellent. It made me a little emotional at the end when they're talking about just... It gives a final plea for humanity, like, we can be better. And the musical score, it was really good. That's all I have to say about it. It was a really good musical score. And all in all, I liked Wonder Woman 1984, so I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. No to the people who loved this movie and were like, oh, what a movie. I can't really get in the same boat as you guys. I wish I was able to, right? I want to love every single movie I see. But the people who hate it, I'm sorry, I still enjoyed my time with Wonder Woman 1984, and I probably will get it on physical media and watch it again. So all in all, not amazing, not terrible. It's a good movie. I recommend it. But what about you guys? Have you guys seen Wonder Woman 1984? And if you did you see it on HBO Max? Did you see it on premium VOD? Because in Canada, we don't have HBO Max. Or did you guys see it in theaters? How was that experience? Let me know down in the comment section down below. And what are your plans for 2021? I'd love to hear them as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season, a happy new year, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.